Welcome to Biggerthangoalspodcast with your boy Sean, Suge, Amos. Today we're here with Dominick Lofaso, the owner of Mad City Boxing Gym here on Sunset.
I came out here with my folks when I was 10, messed around with a lot of drugs, a little bit of crime. Juvie was in the picture. And living like that because I knew I could do more and I knew I could be better. If I just figured this part out, my life would be okay. I've always used fitness and training as a way to counter what I was going through. Boxing has helped me attain a level of focus that I haven't attained in anything.
Absolutely. Welcome to Biggerthangoalspodcast with your boy Sean, Suge, Amos. Today we're here with my guy, Dominick Lofaso, who is the owner of Mad City Boxing Gym here on Sunset. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out, talk with us. I've been a proud member of your gym for about 3 years, so I'm definitely curious to how it all started. But first, I want to know a little bit more about you. I just found out that you're from New York. When did you start? Not when did you start, but when did you move out to LA?
So I came out here with my folks when I was 10, 1986, feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
My parents kind of separated from their lives out there and wanted, a better life for their kids. So I stayed here till I was 17, and then a month before I turned 18, I was actually kicked out of my house. And
Troublemaker?
I was a nuisance. I was a little shit growing up. But actually, when I moved to New York, things started to straighten out for me a little bit because I got out of my surroundings.
Right.
I had to straighten out. I had to start paying rent and living a more decent life. So
That's when you moved to LA?
that's when I moved back to New York.
Oh, you moved
yeah,
back
so
to
I came to I was 10 when I came here, and then again, just a troubled teen. Messed around with a lot of drugs, a little bit of crime. Juvie was in the picture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty colorful.
Well, how'd you get away from that?
Well,
Because that's a good. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a story for a lot of the youth to hear about getting away from that.
it's it actually is a much longer story. So I was, like I said, I was a nuisance. I caused some trouble. There was some robbery. I never did anything that actually physically hurt anybody.
Right,
but
right.
There was a lot of drug abuse. There was robbing. There was stealing. It was just messy. Wasn't doing good in school. When I was in school, I did well, but I just never attended. Couple little stints in juvie. I ended up getting out, and it became. I was just this teenager that was lost. I didn't have a lot of direction. It was my mom's suggestion after I was kicked out that I go to New York. My sister was already there for a year. I ended up staying on my grandma's couch for 3 months.
Wow.
Got a job at Applebee's. Quickly realized that I needed to make more money than that to survive.
2 for $20s ain't gonna save you over in New York.
Moved into the city, then I slept on my sister's couch for another 3 months.
New York City. You moved
New York City, yeah.
so not Harlem,
I
not
moved
Brooklyn.
with my grandmother in Long Island. Took a couple day trips to the city, and then I kind of got hooked. I was like, oh, there's more out there.
Yeah.
Than just causing trouble and getting into shit. And I got into the city. I stayed on my sister's couch. I got a pretty decent job.
Right.
I went back to school to get my GED. Ended up passing. Went to college. Just a couple of years of it, but it was still more than I was used to at the time. And I was doing okay for myself for a little bit.
Nice.
Straightened out, got a girlfriend, my own apartment. Started to live like a pretty happy life.
Sometimes people when they live that life of just making mistakes, bumping their head, they move somewhere else and continue the same mistakes.
Yeah.
What made you not go back to that?
Well, so the truth is that I never left that mindset. What I was doing was and this is what I didn't know yet. So I'm sober now 10 years.
Right.
I've been in and out of jail most of my life, most of my adult life.
Right.
The teenage part was just the beginning of it. Moving, what it did for me was it took me out of my current, right? It kind of gave me a reset, but there was no fundamental change that happened with me at this point. School helped, kind of show me that there was more, right? Or that I was, worth more, if you will.
Right.
The girlfriend kind of kept me on track for a little bit. Girl and I ended up breaking up after a couple years, kind of left to my own. I went from waiting tables to bartending, staying up all night. The drugs became, a little bit bigger of a picture for me there. I started running some nightclubs, running some bars, and then I just became a vampire for easily a decade. Then
what age were you during that time?
I was 21 when I started. Well, I was 20 when I started bartending. I got my first bar management job at 22, and then just working in nightlife for years. The dark circles were. I probably looked older than I do today, and I'm 45. So this part of my story gets a little dark because at one point it became about just, this is my life, this is my lifestyle, I'm an artist, this is. And
were you doing art, some type of artistry?
I went to art school.
Okay.
And I honestly thought to myself at this time, I'm destined to live this life in struggle, and I'm going to struggle a little bit, not really figure shit out. I know that I'm smarter than this. I know that I have potential, not because people told me, because I feel it inside and I understand how I operate.
Right.
But the drugs played such a specific role in the deterioration of my perception of things, right? So what started to happen was it became more about that, more about the party, more about the girls, more about the late nights, and that lifestyle has an expiration date. Eventually, it all came crashing down. I started ripping off employers, ended up getting caught a few times over. Then, I'm not in juvie anymore. Now I'm in county jail.
Oh shit!
And that's kind of going back and
forth. What was
the
longest stint you think you stayed in, like a juvie?
Month and a half in the Twin Towers downtown here.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't like that. I did all this time. It was just so frequent. If you ask me right now how many times I've been locked up, it's going to take me a minute to tell you.
Wow.
The arrest started, and then it just became about bar fights and just about. Everything was just messy. Let's just put it that way.
All right.
I say this a lot because a lot of my outreach is actually to drug and alcohol treatment centers. I'll circle back to how this all happened, but I used to volunteer a program at a drug and alcohol treatment center.
Wow.
So that's actually really how I got my start in what I do today. But it's, I always say this, that I'm not sober today because I'm smart. I'm sober today because I got the opportunity this very last time in jail to evade a 3-year joint suspension and just walk the line. And it was painful enough that I remember it, that I don't want to go back to that. But also, I didn't fuck up entirely where I had to go spend some actual time.
Makes sense, yeah.
So, that kind of keeps me straight. After, I've been in a couple rehabs. I was sober for about 3 years, ended up going out, and then hit my last time in county jail, and then went back to that rehab. The first time I was in that rehab, I spent 16 months there.
Wow.
Now, it wasn't a...
How is rehab though? I know some friends.
Rehab's the best.
Is it? I know people who hated it.
Well, think about it this way. If your life is together, rehab's probably going to suck.
Right.
If your life's a mess, rehab is, they pause your life. You get to go see a psychologist. You get to, work on your spiritual side. You get to work out all the time. You get to live healthy. You get a second chance. Now, obviously, not everybody looks at it through that lens, right? I looked at it through that lens because, bro, I wanted to fucking die. I hated living like that because, and this was the hard part. I knew I could do more, and I knew I could be better, and I knew deep down inside that if I just figured this part out, my life would be okay.
Right.
But dude, drug addiction's fucked up. It is, and it's slow and it's elusive. It wasn't always like that.
Right.
I didn't just
It starts off doing it once a week, and then it goes into 2 times, 3 times.
Bro, there were years where I didn't draw a sober breath.
Wow.
And it was, I'm not like on the corner like begging for change, but like I'll tell you, I was ripping off everybody to get it. Like I was still, my dad actually kind of, he always says, he goes, even when you were a fucking drug addict, you were a hustler. Like you're always like making money. You're always like, trying to like figure something out. But back more so to like the painful aspect of it, it's a trap. It's like a nightmare that you can't wake up from. And that's the best way I could actually explain drug addiction.
So at what age did it become, it was pleasure, now this is a nightmare?
It was at about 28 years old, I started to notice that I was using drugs and alcohol to overcome cravings. That it wasn't even about like, oh, it's social anymore, like hanging out with friends or whatnot. Like it was a problem. Like, and then I spent most of that time just hiding from friends, hiding from family, as much as I possibly could.
Wow.
Just to save face. But then you get locked up and then you're fucking away for, days, or weeks at a time, and shit eventually comes out. But everybody has their own experience with
Absolutely.
that. My experience was that it was, like, there's this great analogy that like you have like if I have a $20 bill, and if I would be like, who wants a $20 bill, right?
Yeah.
You take it. Let's say I crumple a $20 bill up. Like you still want the $20 bill, right?
Absolutely.
Take the $20 bill, throw it on the floor, fucking step on it, spit on it.
Still valuable.
Still fucking $20.
Right.
I, from the age of, let's say my cognitive years, like 8 years old, where there was this bright, energetic, like kid that just wanted to like, be around people and connect and create and communicate. And then, through the years of just, bullshit, self-induced, right, but still at the end of the day, like you crumple up, you get filthy or dirty, but your worth is still there. And I didn't start seeing that worth again until I started to clean up again. So why I do a lot of outreach to drug and alcohol treatment centers is because there's a bunch of fucking crumpled $20 bills everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're all fucking gold, all gold. But, you get dirty enough, you stop seeing it and you stop seeing it in yourself, and that's the hard place because you don't see your value when you're all fucking covered in shit.
So would you say rehab helped you see that value, or did you have
Rehab helps you clean up.
Clean up.
Rehab gives you some tools. I'm a huge advocate of AA and the steps of AA. We'll go a little bit more on my sober journey. I went from, spending some time in India. I spent time in a Scientology center. I spent time in a temple. I spent time in church.
Doing what?
To try to find God.
Really?
To try to like find a sense of spirituality and things to like give me answers. And the truth is I found it in a room full of drugs.
Wow.
And that's actually where my story started. And I don't do the meeting thing. I'm not against them. I'm not for them. It's, I did it for many years. But I'm a huge advocate of the 12 steps. Who I am today is actually a result of that more than anything.
Did you have like a mentor or someone, or did you see someone and say, hey, or did someone pull you over and say, yo, you're better than what you're doing? Or was it just?
I had many people doing that.
Okay.
There was family that was trying to get in my ear. There were friends that were trying to get in my ear. The thing is you're incapable of being reasonable in that stage. When you get sober and the cloud gets lifted, then the mentors started to arise, but they weren't mentors that were just in my way. They were people that I chose. One of my best friends, who I met in AA back in 2008, I disconnected when I relapsed, and a couple years went by. Then I called him and I was like, dude, I'm sober again. Like, I'd love to see you, love to hang out. We hung out, and I'm like, man, it was messy this time. Like, I'm so much like smarter and wiser for it. And he looked at me point blank. He goes, yo, man, nothing's changed. He goes, all you did was fuck more shit up. And he became one of my like strongest mentors in my life from that moment on, because he told me like it was. He also had that experience, and the truth was nothing changed at that point, because you could take the drugs and the alcohol away from somebody, nothing's different.
Really? Why?
Nothing's
What's
different.
up?
Drugs and alcohol are a mere symptom of a much larger problem that you deal with. And my issue was that I essentially dealt with this like self-centered and self-seeking behavior, and it was it was literally my world that I was wrapped up in. What starts to happen, you know, it's a little hard to explain. Everybody, I think, in nature deals with the same kind of selfishness and self-centeredness. But what happens is when you start to operate your life that way, for example, we were just talking about, you know, having plans, right?
Right.
So you start to plan, and then what you start to do is you know, you're like, okay, well, if this person does this and this person will, you know, do this, and then I'll just respond this way to this, so it could create this, and this will, you know, everybody's in my fucking world, my show.
Right.
And, you know, you guys are actors in it, if anything. I'm doing the lights, I'm doing the camera, right?
Right.
I'm doing all of it, I'm trying to control it all. But the thing is we're dealing with people and other relationships and jobs and whatnot and other agendas. So the show doesn't always come off right. So then what we start to do is we start to impress more, and we start to like try harder, become more indignant, or even become like, manipulatively like kinder or nicer, you know. And then what starts to happen is we don't understand why this doesn't work, and then it leads us to this resentment, right? And then we build resentment everywhere. You know, we build it in, you know, here in the ring, in the gym, in relationships. We build it at work. You know, we build it all around, right? And without a proper tool set of how to handle these, you know, maybe like you know, or a normal person can deal with some of these resentments and be, you know, I don't want to say spiritually sick, but meaning like it's, you know, you'll go have a glass of wine, it doesn't affect you. Me, I've done this for so many years that this like intolerance of like the way that things are like is so deep inside me that when I say fuck it, like I say fuck it.
Yeah.
And dude, I obsessed over this, and that's why I created it. I obsess over drugs and alcohol, and I'll do it to that extent. You know, if I obsess, like I don't know anything in moderation. If I eat right, I eat right. I ate like shit, I ate like shit.
Right.
You know, I stopped giving up on trying to moderate anything, to be honest with you. Right now, I'm just trying to get back into sparring, and you're going to see me. I'm going to be obsessed over it until I'm not anymore. But, you know, I know that could possibly be hard to understand if you haven't actually felt the pull of addiction and the pull of addiction through resentment.
Yeah, I haven't, personally, I haven't ever had like an addiction to anything. Definitely had like a checker past when I was, you know, being younger and just living in the inner city, just doing inner city stuff. 13 years old, stealing cars and getting in a lot of fights and thinking you're the toughest person or whatnot. But I have a friend who went through that type of addiction. I couldn't understand it though, because this is a guy who I looked up to. You know, we was the same age, but I looked up to him because he was so confident in himself. And I just couldn't understand how can a substance be so strong, take my friend away or his confidence away, or you know, his body started to change, his face started to change, and I'm like, man, you don't see yourself in the mirror. And then, and like you were saying, I'm starting to kind of understand it through your story, how you're saying like you're more self-centered, you're only thinking about yourself, and he started to become that person as well. Like he's only seeing things from his lens. This is his movie. If he wasn't in control of it, he didn't want to do it. Yeah. You know, if he had a problem with his girlfriend, he'd just leave her because she wanted him to be better. So I think that's I definitely respect, you know, the strength that you're talking about as far as getting yourself together and understanding, hey, look, I'm not just a crumbled up $20 bill. I'm still valuable once I straighten myself out. So when you got to that point, at what point did you have a boxing background? Like, what made you get more into the boxing stuff?
So that's been consistent my whole life. So I was 10, and I was grounded for some reason. I can't remember why. And I always had trouble with reading comprehension. And my dad, he's like, get in your room. He's like, read this book. You're not coming out until you read it. I'm like, I don't want to fucking read. Right. And it was a book on boxing. And of course, I didn't start from the beginning. I flipped right through the middle.
Yeah, like we all did. Like we all did.
Stay on that back toe. As soon as that jab comes in, just sit on the heel. There's your pull. And I was like, all right, well, that's kind of cool.
That's funny. No, I say it's funny because I wasn't into basketball right away. I was like WWF, fucking around with my brother and my friends on like old matches outside and shit. But my first time I got into basketball, I read this book. I think it was by Dr. J. And I remember Dr. J was in the book, it talked about when you're in traffic dribbling, get low. So we used to play at recess, and then we was in traffic, I got low and it worked. And I think that's what turned me on to basketball. I started watching more basketball movies, And I think, and basketball changed my life. Like I went from doing all the bad stuff to understanding basketball comes with like college, and it comes from an escape from the inner city. So I understand what you're talking about as far as, I mean, boxing is, you know, reading it and just saying boxing is something I can use. Did you ever find it as like a scapegoat for, or not scapegoat, but like a escape for the drugs or for your reality at the time?
Yeah, so, I mean, during everything I just told you, I've always used fitness and training as a way to like counter what I was going through, right? I wasn't lazy, I'll tell you that. Like there were times I would go to the gym fucked up, you know, but I would exercise because I knew that, well, number one, it made me feel better. Number two, it was the only form of balance that I had. Now, when it came to boxing, that was a little different. So a family friend of ours was Michael Bent. I don't know if you're familiar. Michael Bent at one point in time was a top 10 heavyweight champion of the world. He took the title kind of randomly from Tommy Morrison, which it was like a fluke. He's on Netflix. There was the show Losers, but it was he's got an interesting story.
It's still on Netflix?
I think it's still on Netflix, yeah. So he... you know, my family was trying to figure out what the fuck was wrong with me, and they were like, "Oh, go hang out with Michael." You know, we did some training, and it helped with a little bit of focus, a little bit of confidence. Like we threw some hands, taught me things that I was incapable of doing. But again, I was so lost and so like on the wrong path that I wasn't seeing much. The first time I got sober when I was 25, though. This was on my own, like I didn't go to like rehab, things were just messy. And I would do that, I would do like a couple months here and there, just to like, again, like I don't want to look like shit, I had to.
And you would check yourself in or some?
No, I mean, it became like this, thing of like, oh shit, okay, you don't have a job. Like, you need to fucking get your shit together. You know, so there was a lot of that happening.
Right.
And anyways, I would train, I would go to the gym, I would lift some weights, I'd hit the bag, you know, I would read, I would watch some videos, I would, you know, and just do my thing. Never took it serious, never really took anything serious. I was consistent with exercise and I was consistent with piano. Those are the only two things I was ever consistent with. So then when I got sober, 2008, I started to obsess over exercise, and that's when I met a coach, Terry Claiborne. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah,
I've heard the name before.
Pound for pound. He was a different coach than I was used to because he treated me as if I was a fighter. And he knew, like, I had no interest in fighting. I didn't care about that part of it. But I loved the science of boxing. I was geeked out on just the beauty of the ins and outs of it. You know, it's one thing to read it, it's one thing to actually do it.
Oh, absolutely. That's for sure.
But he treated me like a fighter, and I loved how he communicated the sport. And
did you meet him out here, or did you?
Met him out here.
Okay.
Yeah. At this point, I've been in LA now for 3 years.
Okay.
So, you know, and I worked with him privately for a long time, and he didn't realize this as he was coaching me, but he was inspiring me to do something in this field. And I started to I got the bug, man. I wanted to know everything about it. I read everything there was to read about boxing. I watched every YouTube video at the time.
Yeah,
YouTube wasn't
that's how I started.
then.
Yeah, as I started training. I started training basketball. I started watching YouTube videos and shit.
But like, I mean, everything, you know, and I just wanted to know everything, and just fight studies and just all the ins and outs. And then I ended up going back to New York for about 1.5 years. And then again, my colorful past got ahead of me. And then this last time coming back from New York, this is 11 years ago, cleaned up entirely. Long story short, in that area, I got sober. I was like, you know what? I got to get out of this fucking nightlife. I got to get out of, you know, working in the restaurants.
Yeah.
You know, I started managing this restaurant over here in Beverly Hills. Came back here, sobriety full-fledged kicked in, and then I was running this restaurant. And then, you know, I also, throughout this time, like I studied my NASM. I never took my NASM, or I took it eventually, but like I was studying.
And the NASM is the training program, right?
Yeah, it's Academy of Sports Medicine. So
yeah, I failed that.
Did you?
Yeah, I failed it, bro.
How long did you study?
No, I'm gonna tell you a true story. Because it comes with a book and a DVD.
Okay.
Of course, I only watch the DVD.
Of course.
So I'm watching the DVD every day, maybe twice a day. And my girlfriend at the time, actually, I was living with her and her family. It was a summer before my last semester of school. And I didn't want to go back to Colorado because I wasn't playing basketball. So I said the plan was to stay in the Bay Area. I was going to be a fitness trainer. Got to NASA. She paid for it. Her mom helped pay for it or whatnot. I'm studying. I never cracked open the book. Go take the test. I think I had like a 60 or something like that. And my favorite meal is like crab legs and stuff, right? And they don't eat crab legs, like, you know. So I come back to the house. Hey, surprise, congratulations. It had so much time. Had crab legs for me, everything. And I was like, I failed. But then, you know, I think that's when I kind of turned, like, far as like putting more effort into studying.
Yeah.
I mean, I never really took school that serious because I just wanted to play basketball. But once I saw the disappointment in their face, and then I think she didn't talk to me for like 2-3 days, and I ended up going back to Colorado to finish up school because they gave me a refund check because I registered the semester before that I totally forgot about. And then we broke up like a week after I left. We ended up getting back together later on down the line, but yeah, so I know all about that. I know all about the personal training part of it, yeah. So you took the NASA and...
So I studied for the NASA for like 6 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I even...
They're way better than me.
I actually I did well on the test, but like I said, I studied for over half a decade. But yeah, again, knowledge and like the hustle was always kind of there even in my darker times. So I always wanted to learn more. I always wanted to like do better, be better. Like I obsessed over exercise. So, you know, this was the natural progression to that. So I ended up taking the test. I was nervous as all hell, but I ended up passing it. And then guess what happened after that? Absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah, you gotta go find a job now.
Well, meaning like yeah, great, you passed the fucking test.
With
Something.
With 1,000 other people that day, right?
You know, and I say this to coaches when they come in for a job. They're like, "Well, I'm NASM certified." I was like, "The only person that's going to care about your fucking certification is you.
Yeah.
Like nobody cares about it. Can you communicate the knowledge that you've attained through this? Like that's a whole different story. Like I know a ton of people that pass the NASM that cannot teach the NASM whatsoever,
right?
Or the NASM way. So what ended up happening was I devised a plan. Plan was real simple. I want to go full force into fitness. I have my NASM now. I started with a little notebook, and I just wrote down a combination. It was just like a basic combination. To tell you the truth, I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm like, all right, well, I need people now to train. I was like, all right, well, I have a whole community in my rehab. You know, all these like guys, and you know, coming out of jail, and all their chemical, like their you know, chemistry's all messed up. They need to exercise. They need to move around. Right. You know, boxing has helped me attain a level of focus that I haven't attained in anything in life. Yeah. You know, and it started to change my life. It started to shape my life. My relationships got, you know, clearer. The way that I maneuvered in, you know, through my relationships at work. You know, everything just started to like take a different shape.
What about boxing does that? Because it does the same thing for me too. I know for me, I'm a lot more focused on my diet. I'm a lot more focused. I mean, even when I'm doing the drills in the ring, I mean, one of the, you know, I spar here all the time, and you can't lose focus in the ring. Yeah. So, but what about the sport itself makes you like lock in and just want to change everything around you?
It requires you to be present.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, you have to be focused in there. The second you're off, you're thinking about something else. Even when I'm training someone and I'm like, one slip, they're like repeating it. They're like looking off to the side. I'm like, you're not even here. Like you gotta go back in. You know, any type of sport that, you know, is fast paced, but requires you to compute like in the moment, like is going to enhance your ability to, you know, to focus on anything or to, you know, do that math a little quicker, you know, anything. But I know it's cheesy and you hear it over and over, but like the way you box is the way you live. It is so true. It is absolutely true. And there are even times that I'm like, I'm more relaxed. And then when I spar, I'm more relaxed. You know, if I'm tense, I got shit going on. I'm fucking tense. I got shit going on there. Like I bring everything in, you know, to either or. I mean, even like simple disciplines, like, you know, I didn't eat before I worked out for, I don't know, 15 years. Terry Claiborne in 2008 fucking banged me around for 7 rounds and was lecturing me on the importance of being prepared.
Right.
I've eaten breakfast every day since that day in 2008. Like it's one of the first things I do in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm never not like stressed for that meal. I'm never, you know, out of focus. I like coming to work. Like I have, you know, your brain swims in a pool of glucose. So in the morning when it's depleted, you're scattered. People like to say, oh, you're entering ketosis or, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like maybe in 36 hours after that point, you're entering ketosis. But what you're doing is your brain is scattered and you're panicking. And that's actually what it feels like. Or those are my words to describe it. I just know this. When I eat in the morning, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
And when I look at those fighters right there, I doubt very highly that they're fasting for fucking 36 hours before they get into
Oh, no, yeah. Not before fights, for sure.
Not before fights, you know. But one of the things that I learned from Nassen was that your nutrition, like, you know, if you eat 4 hours before any of your workouts, you're going to have access to all that fuel.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's the same in basketball.
Oh,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
But I don't know, veer off course. So I started to volunteer at this program at my drug and alcohol treatment center. You know, it was symbiotic. I was helping them, they were helping me. And then people at my work started to, you know, inquire about some of the training. I'd be like, you know, come hit mitts with me 30 minutes in the park. If you like it, we'll go from there. Started to build a little client base. I also.
This was what, 2009? 2010?
This was in 2011.
2011, okay.
And then there was I used to facilitate a mind-body medicine group. And so it would be part, you know, part like, I don't want to say psychotherapy, but like a holistic approach to like, you know, combating, you know, some of the things that you're going through day to day. So I'd facilitate that group. We'd exercise before and or after. And then that mentor I was telling you about, he goes to me one day, he goes, you know, what you're trying to do is bigger than what you're doing. And he goes, you need to help everybody. He goes, you need to create something that is for everybody. So my wheels started to turn, and through a lot of deduction of also trying to create a business model, because I also wanted to make money, I wasn't able to make the kind of money that I was going to make just doing that. And this is why. If I was a doctor and I wanted to prescribe more drugs for people coming off of drugs, I could get tens of thousands of dollars of funding for it. But for the holistic approach to helping people come off of drug and alcohol, I mean, we're talking about 0.2% of insurance allotment that goes to it. It's so little. It's actually upsetting. And I tried to combat that for a while. But there's no way that this person in this state can do that. So what I started to do was develop a plan to open up a facility. If I open up a facility, I could help and work with other people, make some money, and still give back to those communities, which I still do. We volunteer 2 programs here, one on Saturday and one on Monday night.
Nice.
For people that have a minimum of 24 hours of sobriety.
Oh, nice.
And we help them with the boxing and focus, and just, you know, to accept physical fitness as part of their, you know, means of recovery. So that's one of the things we do. I also do a lot of private training in between. But we also do things like breath work, which I'm sure you've seen, but you haven't. We're doing one tomorrow night if you want to come by.
Well, you know, you gotta practice.
That's fair.
I've seen it, but I haven't indulged in it. I haven't been interested in it, to be honest.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. You know, for somebody that like goes for it, you know, I suggest you give it a try, because tomorrow will be my 31st time doing it.
What does it help? Like
it has this organizing power that is so incredibly profound. Like, we all do things to get to this place. Some of it's exercise, some people do meditation, some people do yoga, whatever it may be. This breath work gets you here the quickest and most efficient out of it. I mean, listen, let's be real. Everyone in the room is screaming. Everyone in the room is crying. It's an emotionally charged like journey.
Really?
Like, I've seen the toughest motherfuckers in here fucking bawling.
Really?
Yeah,
I got to see it.
The benefits is that there's a release and there's this. Let's put it circling back to the self-centeredness. Mm-hmm. We all suffer from that same issue.
Absolutely.
Let's be real. My wife and I just had a kid, 6 months old.
Congratulations.
She's like, let's have another baby. My society is like, all right, let's figure this out. Yeah. Let's get this moving. We have time.
Right.
When I do breath work, or I did breath work, in between, I got to this place where I was so connected to God and so connected to this source and so connected to every person in this room and every life that we touch and every bit of this universe you are literally feeling into your fucking fingertips, okay? The only answer to that question after is like, fuck it, let's have 6 kids. Like, none of it fucking matters, let's fucking go. And it charges you, it's empowering,
You sold me. I think I'm sold.
But again, you gotta go for it. Like, that's the thing. You can't just sit there and phone it in. You'll know what I mean by that, because you'll know what I mean. And the guy that fucking does it here, bro, he's not like holier than thou either. He's like a fucking big wave surfer. He's worked with fucking MMA fighters. Like, he's super fucking chill.
Yeah.
It really is just about up to you to like just pushing it past. Because what is this all about? Like, what is creation about?
Right.
It's about fucking just grilling it and drilling it and drilling it and fucking. I mean, you see my pops out there, right?
Yeah.
All right, that man is 73 years old.
I didn't know that was your dad. I didn't know
that.
Pops.
73 years old, jackhammering concrete up. Like, why? Because he loves to create. He does this. He did it for fucking Tate Fletcher over in fucking Santa Fe, hanging out with Cowboy Cerrone and fucking Keith Jardine, building fucking saunas out and like fucking shooting guns and crazy shit.
I didn't know that.
And then he goes to, but again, it's we should be creating all the time. We should be fucking moving all the time. We should be, dunk your head in the ocean. Grant Cardone, right? You're reading that book. Right? Dunk your head in the ocean. No one's sleeping. No one's resting. They don't have time. Fish don't have time for themselves. They're constantly creating and moving. The entire universe is doing so. We have to do the same. And that is when we live in our fucking finest. Right? So, I don't know. I've gone off.
No, I'm listening to you. I know. You talking about the breathing thing. I'm like, man, why would people be crying? I'm trying. I was waiting for you to get to that. But speaking of creating, but you created a great establishment here. What made you think of Mad City? What made you think of the name Mad City?
I had everything together, the LLC. I had my articles of incorporation. Everything was together. And my wife and I could not think of a name. And we walked out of, it was in LA Fitness, actually. We were doing this workout with friends. And the Kendrick Lamar song came on in the car. And she goes, Mad City Boxing. And I go, Mad City Fight Club. And then she goes, Mad City Boxing. I go, Mad City Boxing. And that was it.
Nice.
And, yeah.
I know you got to go, so I want to go faster. What was the hardest part of starting, like, far as like getting the community? Because you have a great community. Obviously. Yeah. I was over there when you was on La Brea. Now you're here on Sunset. We all just follow you. So what was one of the challenges of growing a community for like a small business owner?
I'm going to answer it with just a piece of advice. Keep it organic. Right? I could have spent thousands of dollars on Facebook ads and gotten a sales process together.
Right.
The truth is it cheapens what you do.
Right.
What started to emerge was from connection. I offered a free 30-minute private training session for everybody. I had nothing else to do. You open up a business, people just don't flood in. It's not how it works. Yeah. So that was my big free offering. I was getting people in, and I would spend 30 minutes in there. I would teach them everything that I could about the science of boxing. I still do it. I just did it with this kid over here a couple weeks ago. But in that 30 minutes, what started to take place was that you get to know somebody. They get to know you. You're connecting to them. I know where they're from. I know what they do. I know why they moved to LA. So then naturally, now this wasn't in a book or in a process, but naturally what happened was then other people came in. Kevin walked in the door. I was like, oh, Kev, dude, Suge's from Philly.
Yep.
You guys start talking.
Yep.
Oh, shit, where in Philly you from? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and it starts to
I was
break
just at his gym last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, but again, like, you know, so when Kev first walked in, dude, Kev would put his earbuds in. He'd fucking just hit the bag in a sweatsuit. He wouldn't fucking talk to anyone. Everyone was like, dude, that dude's a dick. My wife was like, hate that guy. And like, I was like, give him a fucking chance. Like,
Yeah, that's the style.
Just give him a chance. Yo, let me tell you right now, within like 6 months, Kevin would come and be like, hey man, what's up? My name's Kev. Like,
Yeah.
he's like one
That's
of
a
my
Philly
best friends
thing.
now.
That's a Philly thing. We don't talk right away. we gotta peep the scene. We gotta, it takes. I gotta get comfortable. I'm like that everywhere. In every gym that I go to, everyone say the same thing about me too. I don't talk right away.
You know what they say about this gym though? Everybody's so welcoming.
Yeah.
Like every time somebody comes in.
Very much.
Because it started from the top of just being like, hey, this is Suge. Suge's from Philly.
Yeah.
Right?
No, you're very welcoming because it's so welcoming that if you come in with the mindset of I'm not talking to no one,
Yeah, you don't fit in.
you won't fit in. You'll feel like a dick because you didn't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
So it's definitely welcoming. And so now you're here on Sunset. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. Now, was this part of the plan? Like, hey, I like where I'm at because you was in a smaller studio. Now you're here in a bigger studio. Were you saying, hey, I need a bigger studio?
No,
or
so it came through just figuring out a couple issues that we had. So we had noise complaints with the bank that was next to us.
That's right.
So that started everything. So then it became a lease negotiation after my term was up, and the landlords were like, listen, you can stay, but you got to build a 3-inch wall across the board. So we did all this math, and we went back and forth, and we're going to build it on that side, they're going to build it on this side. And then they gave me another lease proposal. That was fair market value, which was a little higher. And I'm sitting here negotiating, and I'm trying to, like, again, just like push it into my own arrangement, right? And I'm emailing, and I'm looking at 14 people outside jump roping. And other fucking 6 people in here. I'm like, we're spilling outside.
Yeah.
Like we outgrew this place in our second year.
Right.
Like, what am I trying to do? And I started to do some other math, and this is where my meditation really kicked in. And I asked God what we should do. And I started looking at other places, and I got some LOIs out on a bunch of different places. And I was nerve wracking. I didn't want to leave it, dude. I dumped all this money into this place.
Right.
Wanted to figure out, and I almost pulled the trigger on this other space on Santa Monica. This place came up on the market. I looked at it, and I was like, it's not gonna hurt. I'm just gonna look at it. Right. You know, just like staying proactive. I came in, I walked in, and it was like it already happened.
And you can see everything.
Yeah,
like
everything. I saw 2 years in front of me, and it was clear. But that's the thing, though. Like, it was when you stop trying to arrange all the time, and you start to listen to what is the flow of things. Like, you're going to be guided. You know,
detachment.
Yeah.
I've learned that through my journey. Like, I've learned to detach myself from the end goal and just focus on the journey itself, and then whatever steps God puts in front of me, I just go forward.
Yeah.
So you're here now. By the way, great gym. I love being here. We had one of our bigger fight camps last Friday.
Yeah,
I hope that
great.
can continue to grow. So another thing you have is great trainers. I've seen guys come here, women come here, they work out, and they're green in the sport. I was one of them, kind of, but then I come back months later, and they got some skills. They're pretty good. So what is your strategy in building your team?
My thing is this. Well, first off, it's very difficult to find good trainers. So I have a coach's prep program that we do annually. We didn't do it this last year. Don't get me wrong, this comes with a whole world of new issues, you know, because you don't always want to train from the ground up. But the thing is this, we're a non-competitive gym. Like, even in our fight camp, like, everybody's working some stuff out, like, but like no one here is trying to, like, really kill anyone, right? Like, it's not like
we gotta go to work later.
Totally. You know, but we also have, like, there's a couple ex-pros here that, like, come in just banging out a little bit, like, because the vibe is chill. Like, no one's trying to fucking overpower anyone. So I'm not trying to build a fighter or a fight team. I'm trying to help people throw a perfect layup. So when I am in class or when I'm like dealing with my coaches, all I'm trying to do is correct the basic things, which is returning hands, like moving off of lines, you know, making sure you're protected, making sure that defense is your primary focus versus your punches. You know, and if I could help regular folk, just like how Terry helped me with, treat them with those, like, as you would a fighter, but like teach them how to defend themselves and how to throw that perfect layup, or like really just focus on the basic stuff. Like, you'll give them a chance to come into something like a fight camp and like see if they like it.
Right.
You know, I always say this too: if anyone ever got hurt here, something's gone terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Meaning we have systems for everything to like progress people through. So, you know, when I was doing R&D for this place, I sat with Tony Jeffrey's business partner, and I was doing a box and burn class. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm thinking about opening up a boxing gym. I'm just seeing what's out there. It was the first time I ever did a boxing class.
Yeah.
And he gave me the best piece of advice, which was he goes, your biggest problem that you're always gonna have is finding good coaches.
Yeah,
So
good coaches is hard to find. I've been blessed to have great coaches in my organization, but it's definitely hard to find like good coaches who know what they're doing and want to do it, and you know you're not going to get rich off of it, right?
Yeah.
So you got to find coaches who have a passion for it, a passion to help people. That's one of the things I enjoy about your gym, is that all your coaches seem very passionate. I've never seen any of them off energy. Like, you know, like they come in loud, they're ready to go. So I do admire that about it. So what do you guys have planned in the future as far as, like, do you see yourself Mad Cities all across LA? Is it a chain?
Five Mad City boxings. That's the goal.
Nice.
You know, whether I either, you know, I want to create because again, I don't like employees. I don't want to have employees. I want to have, you know, ownership everywhere.
Right.
I want this to exist when I'm dead. You know, my goal is to build up 5 of them. We'll probably do either Valley or West Side next, and then either go like Orange County or.
How long do you think something like that would take? Like, let's say not 5. I know 5 would take a little, some time, but maybe a third or a second.
Well, the second Mad City will expose a series of problems, you know, that need to be solved.
Gotcha.
If you can solve the problems of 2, you can have 5. You know, but it's going to take a second to get those 2. You know, the first 2 will be the most difficult ones because it's going to expose what systems are off, your onboarding, you know, labor ratio, you know, basically just how this place is managed. You know, because you want to keep your curriculum. We cover a lot of ground here, right? You know, we also do a pretty, you know, comprehensive strength and conditioning program. So it's like, we're here to make people faster, stronger, smarter, more focused, not injured. So
Right.
there's also that aspect of it.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna let you go, man. I know you got some work to do, but listen, this was a very inspiring interview, man. I've learned a lot about you I didn't know about. Also, I learned a lot about myself. I learned about my friend. I came in here with tons of like business questions, you know, but I think your story was better. It's like we was talking about earlier about, you know, we don't know, we think we have it all planned out, and then something else happens, and you're like, wow, that was better. And this is one of the moments for me. Definitely a better interview than I drew up on my phone. I hope you guys outside or out there watching was inspired. That's what it's about. We want to, it's bigger than goals. You know, you had your goals, but the person you had to become was bigger than all this. And this wouldn't happen if you didn't go through your journey of your ups and downs, trouble past, and you probably wouldn't appreciate it as much as you do. So we appreciate you and thank you for your time. Let people know where they can find your company as far as on Instagram and everything.
Yeah.
You all looked into this game, right?
Easy. Mad City Boxing. Mad City, one word. See us on Instagram. Check out the website. Come through. Come hang out.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share Bigger Than Goals podcast.